Nikola Jokic is going for number 4. Yeah, you heard that right. Jokic is going for his 4th MVP right now. And to be honest, he feels like a huge favorite. Every night, he does something crazy. Let's start with his game versus Atlanta the other day. Scoring 48 points in just 35 minutes is incredible on its own. But when you add 14 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 steals, that's flat out historic. Jokic made 17 of his 29 shots from the field and drilled 3 of his 6 attempts from beyond the arc. Efficiency like that is just wild, especially for a big man. What stood out to me most was how easy Jokic made it look. Whether it was posting up, hitting fadeaways, or threading perfect passes to his teammates, he was in complete control. The Hawks had no answer for him, and Denver dominated so much that Jokic didn't even need to play the last 2 minutes. If he had, he almost certainly would have dropped another 50-point game. This performance wasn't just a random great night either. Jokic's stat line of 48 points, 14 boards, 8 assists, and 3 steals has only been matched 4 other times in NBA history. Think about that, only 4 times. And here's the kicker. One of those was by Jokic himself back in 2022. The others? 2 from Russell Westbrook and 1 from Larry Bird in 1992. That's the kind of company Jokic is keeping right now. Absolute legends. And Jokic isn't just lighting it up occasionally. He's been on a ridiculous tear this December, averaging nearly 40 points a game. On top of that, he's pulling down 15 rebounds and dishing out 9 assists. Those numbers sound like something you'd make up in a video game, but Jokic is doing it for real. This game also came right after he dropped 56 points against the Washington Wizards the night before. Even though the Nuggets didn't get the win in that one, Jokic was unstoppable there too. To bounce back with this kind of performance against the Hawks and lead Denver to a convincing win shows just how determined and consistent he is. What's crazy is that he's doing all of this while shooting over 56% from the field and more than 50% from 3 for the season. For a center to shoot like that, it's almost unheard of. Jokic isn't just dominating in the post. He's stretching defenses and making them pay from deep. And let's not forget his playmaking. Those 8 assists weren't just simple kickouts or routine passes. Jokic was orchestrating the entire Nuggets offense like a maestro. Whether it was hitting cutters with no-look passes or finding open shooters with pinpoint precision, he was setting the table for everyone. His vision and IQ are unmatched for someone his size. This game wasn't just about the numbers though. You could see how his presence lifted the entire team. When Jokic is on the floor, Denver plays with so much confidence. The ball moves better, everyone gets involved, and they're just a nightmare to defend. Performances like this are why Jokic is firmly in the MVP conversation again. Entering this game, he was already averaging over 31 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists for the season. That's a triple-double pace, folks. And he's doing it while being one of the most efficient players in the league. It's hard to even compare him to other MVP candidates right now because what Jokic is doing feels so unique. Sure, other guys are having great seasons, but Jokic's ability to impact the game in so many ways, scoring, rebounding, passing, and even defensively, sets him apart. He's the engine of this Nuggets team, and when he plays like this, they're nearly unstoppable. This wasn't just a great game for Jokic, it was a statement, a reminder to everyone that he's not just the best big man in the league, he's the best player, period. What makes it all even more exciting is how effortless he makes it seem. Watching Jokic play is like watching a master artist at work. Every move is deliberate, every decision is calculated, and he does it all with such a calm demeanor. It's almost unfair how good he is. Denver is lucky to have a player like him leading the charge. With Jokic playing at this level, they've got a real shot to make serious noise this season. The Hawks learned that the hard way. Also, if you guys like these deep dives, I post every day during the season. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks so much. Anyways, what the Joker did in a 24-hour stretch was ridiculous. Nikola Jokic delivered a 24-hour stretch of pure basketball brilliance. Across 2 games, he racked up 104 points, 30 rebounds, and 16 assists. Let's break that down, because those numbers aren't just incredible, they're historic. Nobody in NBA history has ever scored over 100 points, grabbed 30 boards, and dished out at least 15 assists in a 2-day span. That's Jokic for you, rewriting the record books every time he steps on the court. What stood out most wasn't just the numbers, but how Jokic managed to dominate in back-to-back games with such efficiency. He shot 58% from the field, nailed 55% of his threes, and even hit 77% of his free throws. Those are crazy splits, especially for someone carrying this much responsibility for his team. And speaking of his team, The Nuggets really needed this effort. Jamal Murray was out for both games, so Jokic had to carry the load again. The first game was against the Washington Wizards, where Jokic dropped 56 points. Despite his heroic effort, the Nuggets came up short. But here's the thing, even in a loss, Jokic's impact was undeniable. He kept Denver competitive, grabbed 10 offensive rebounds, and set up his teammates for easy buckets. That kind of dominance doesn't go unnoticed, and it certainly didn't in Washington. The next day, against the Atlanta Hawks, he didn't let fatigue slow him down. Jokic poured in another 48 points, completely dismantling Atlanta's defense. He wasn't just scoring though, he was controlling the glass, finding open teammates, and swiping steals. It was a total masterclass in how to take over a game. And get this, Denver won by 30 points. Jokic didn't even need to finish the game because the job was already done. Now let's talk about the supporting cast because they stepped up too. Michael Porter Jr. found his rhythm, scoring 26 points while dominating in the paint. That's something you don't see every day from MPJ, who's usually more of a perimeter guy. Aaron Gordon was back in the lineup, and his energy made a huge difference. Then there's Julian Strawther and Christian Brown, who each added scoring punches off the bench. It's clear Jokic's greatness inspires those around him to elevate their play. One of the most interesting moments came after the Wizards game. Jokic, never one to shy away from honesty, called out the team's lack of effort. He even joked that in Serbia, a performance like that would earn you a fine. That comment seemed to light a fire under the Nuggets because their response against Atlanta was exactly what you'd hope for. A dominant, all-around performance. They recorded 43 assists, which ranks as the 10th most in team history. That's a reflection of Jokic's leadership on the court. He's not just about scoring, he makes everyone around him better. Historically, this 2-game stretch cements Jokic among the NBA's elite. He became the first player since the NBA-ABA merger to achieve such a statistical feat across consecutive games. And let's not forget, he did this while maintaining incredible efficiency. His true shooting percentage during these games was 66%, which is almost unheard of for someone shouldering this level of offensive responsibility. Jokic is proving, once again, why he's in the MVP conversation year after year. Despite his heroics, Denver's road trip wasn't all smooth sailing. They went 1-2, losing to both the league's best team, the Boston Celtics, and the worst, the Washington Wizards. That's the reality of this season for the Nuggets. They're in a fight every single night. But with Jokic playing like this, you've got to think they'll figure things out. His ability to dominate, adapt, and lead is unmatched in today's game. Jokic isn't just putting up big numbers. He's redefining what it means to be a dominant big man. His blend of scoring, rebounding, and playmaking is something we've never seen before. This 24-hour stretch was just another reminder of how special he is. I want to do something fun. Real quick though, in one of my recent videos, I went over Jokic's stats for a set time period. What if we change that to everyone's 2-game stretch? It's really comical how much Jokic is ahead of everyone. Nikola Jokic has been absolutely unstoppable these past 2 games. He's leading the league in points per game over this stretch with an unreal 52 points per game. That's a massive gap ahead of second place LeBron James, who's putting up 39 points. Jokic isn't just scoring, he's dominating. He's also first in field goals made, averaging 19.5. To give that some perspective, LeBron's second in that category, and he's at 14. Jokic is ahead by 5.5 buckets per game. That's insane. What really impresses me though is his hustle on the boards. He's snagging 5 offensive rebounds per game, which puts him at the very top. That means he's not just getting it done with finesse. He's grinding down low and giving his team extra chances to score. Overall, he's pulling down 15 rebounds per game, which is 3rd in the league right now. Only Walker Kessler, who's averaging 15.5, Jokic is right there with the best of them when it comes to cleaning the glass. And don't sleep on his passing. Jokic is sitting at 13 in assists per game, averaging 8. That's not typical for a big man, but Jokic isn't your typical player. He's throwing dimes like a point guard and keeping the Nuggets offense humming. It's so fun to watch how he creates for everyone around him, especially considering the injuries they've been dealing with. It's wild how Jokic can do all of this while shouldering such a massive load. And then there's his advanced stats too. Nikola Jokic's advanced stats from these past 2 games are mind-blowing. Let's start with his 4 factors index sitting at 35.4. That's a monster number that shows just how dominant he's been in every key area of the game. It's not just about scoring or rebounding. It's about controlling the flow of everything on the court. And Jokic has absolutely been doing that. Now his effective field goal percentage, 62.8%. That's not just efficient, that's pure mastery. He's hitting shots from everywhere and making it look so easy. The dude is converting opportunities at a level that's almost unfair to his defenders. And let's talk about turnovers. Jokic's turnover ratio is at 7.7, which is ridiculously low considering how much he's handling the ball. He's making smart decisions with it every time, keeping their offense fluid and mistake-free. The offensive rebounds percentage is at 12, which is insane. That means he's grabbing 12% of all available offensive rebounds when he's on the floor. He's outworking everyone under the basket and giving his team second chance opportunities like clockwork. And the free throw ratio? 39.5. He's getting to the line and cashing in, which just adds another layer to how unstoppable he's been. Now, let's talk usage rate. 46.6%. That means Jokic is involved in almost half of his team's possessions. That's just crazy. And even with that kind of workload, his plus minus is at 12. That shows just how much better they are with him on the court. Lastly, his player impact estimate, or PIE, is at 21.9%. That's elite and proves just how much he's influencing every single play. It's just wild watching greatness like this in action. And then check out this chart. Nikola Jokic's past 2 games have been nothing short of breathtaking. The advanced stats tell the story of a player operating at an entirely different level. If you love numbers and basketball brilliance, you're in for a treat. Jokic's performances are not just dominant, they're historically great, and every stat screams his impact on the court. Let's start with his go-to guy stat, which is sitting in the 100th percentile. That's the highest possible ranking, and it's well-deserved. This metric measures how often a player is relied on for offensive production. And for Jokic, it's clear the team depends on him in every way, whether it's scoring, setting up teammates, or simply being the calming presence in high-pressure moments. Jokic has embraced his role as the centerpiece of the offense. Now let's move to his defensive metrics. Jokic's defensive aggressiveness ranks in the 79th percentile. While that might not seem as flashy as his offensive stats, it's incredibly impactful. This stat measures things like steals, blocks, and overall defensive impact. Jokic isn't the kind of player who relies on sheer athleticism to make defensive plays. He uses his basketball IQ to position himself perfectly and disrupt opposing offenses. He's contesting shots, forcing turnovers, and being a reliable presence in the paint. It's not about racking up huge numbers in blocks or steals. It's about making the defense work as a cohesive unit, and Jokic is the anchor. Now let's flip to the offensive side of things, where Jokic truly shines. His offensive aggressiveness is also in the 100th percentile. That's a perfect score for a reason. This stat captures his ability to dominate in key areas like offensive rebounding, foul drawing, and overall will to win. Jokic is relentless when it comes to crashing the boards, grabbing second chance opportunities, and making defenders pay for even the smallest mistakes. Every possession feels like a chess match where Jokic is always 2 moves ahead. His offensive aggression doesn't just elevate his own game, it inspires the entire team to play harder. Scoring? No surprises here, he's also in the 100th percentile. When it comes to putting up points, Jokic is doing it better than anyone. His scoring is efficient, consistent, and impossible to predict. He can hit you with a mid-range jumper, a soft floater in the lane, or even a 3-pointer with the shot clock winding down. And let's not forget about his touch around the rim. It's second to none. His ability to score in a variety of ways keeps defenders guessing and creates constant mismatches. Speaking of scoring efficiency, let's talk about his shooting stats, which rank in the 87th percentile. That's elite territory for a player who's asked to do so much on offense. This stat measures 2-point and 3-point shooting percentages, as well as overall scoring ability from all ranges. Jokic's soft touch and impeccable shot selection make him one of the most reliable shooters in the game. He's not just a volume scorer, he's an efficient one, and that's what makes him so hard to stop. Even when he's heavily guarded, Jokic finds ways to get the ball through the hoop. Now let's address clutchness. Jokic's clutchness rating is in the 47th percentile, which might seem like a glaring weakness at first glance, but there's context here. This number is slightly skewed because of a recent loss to the Wizards, which impacted his clutch stats. If you've watched Jokic over the years, you know he's more than capable of delivering in big moments. He's hit buzzer beaters, game winners, and clutch free throws throughout his career. This stat doesn't define him. It's just a blip in an otherwise stellar stretch of games. Playmaking is another area where Jokic continues to excel. His playmaking stat sits in the 53rd percentile, which might not jump off the page, but let's break it down. This metric measures assists, turnovers, and the ability to create plays for teammates. Jokic is one of the most gifted passers the game has ever seen, regardless of position. He's not just making the obvious pass, he's threading needles, throwing no-look dimes, and orchestrating the offense with a rhythm that's almost impossible to defend. His assists lead directly to points, but even the passes that don't show up on the stat sheet often set up scoring opportunities. When you put all these metrics together, it paints a picture of a player who's dominating the game in every facet. Jokic isn't just excelling in one area, he's a force in scoring, passing, rebounding, and even defense. His ability to impact the game in so many ways is what separates him from other stars. It's not just about piling up stats, it's about making every minute on the court count. Even more impressive is how Jokic's advanced stats translate to winning basketball. His presence on the court completely changes the dynamic of the game. Opponents have to account for him at all times, whether he's posting up, setting screens, or initiating the offense from the top of the key. His basketball IQ is off the charts, and it shows in the way he reads defenses and makes split-second decisions. Go-to guy stat really encapsulates his value. When the game is on the line or the team needs a spark, Jokic is the one they look to. And it's not just about scoring. He knows when to take over and when to get his teammates involved. That balance is what makes him such a unique and effective leader on the court. Offensive aggressiveness is another area where Jokic's impact is undeniable. He's not just aggressive for the sake of it. He's calculated. Whether it's grabbing an offensive rebound or drawing a foul, every move he makes is designed to give his team an advantage. His ability to draw contact and still finish through defenders is something to behold. And when he gets to the free throw line, he's knocking them down with consistency. Defensively, Jokic might not have the highlight reel blocks or jaw-dropping steals, but his impact is felt in more subtle ways. He's contesting shots, cutting off passing lanes, and using his positioning to disrupt offensive flow. His defensive aggressiveness rating reflects that he's not just a passive presence on defense, he's actively making plays that help his team get stops. And let's circle back to his scoring. Jokic's ability to score at such an elite level while still being efficient is what truly sets him apart. It's one thing to put up big numbers, but doing it without forcing shots or disrupting the offense is what makes him special. He's the kind of player who can drop 30 points without even seeming like he's trying, simply because he's so in tune with the game. Jokic's shooting stats are another testament to his all-around game. Ranking in the 87th percentile means he's not just taking high percentage shots, he's making them at a rate that puts him among the league's best. His ability to stretch the floor with his three-point shooting opens up so many possibilities for his team. The playmaking, though, is where Jokic really shows why he's one of the most versatile players in the league. Even when his playmaking stat doesn't rank at the very top, it's clear that he's the engine that makes everything go. His court vision is otherworldly, and his passing makes the game easier for everyone around him. Jokic isn't just creating plays, he's elevating the play of his teammates. What's most exciting about all these stats is that they're just a snapshot of Jokic's overall impact. He's not just a stat sheet stuffer, he's a game changer. Every advanced metric tells the story of a player who's completely in control of his game, and it's been an absolute joy to watch. Jokic's advanced stats are the stuff of legends. Whether it's his scoring, playmaking, or defense, he's proving why he's one of the most complete players in basketball today. His ability to dominate in so many areas is a testament to his work ethic, skill, and basketball IQ. And if these past two games are any indication, Jokic is only getting better. But if he's going to win his fourth MVP, he has to be doing this stuff all season. And that's exactly what he has been doing. His incredible combination of skill, efficiency, and versatility makes him a truly transcendent player. In the context of his peers, players like Antetokounmpo, Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, and SGA, Jokic's statistical dominance becomes even more apparent. Breaking down their performances through key metrics reveals just how special each player is and why Jokic sits atop this elite group. Let's begin with the most fundamental aspect of a basketball player's contribution: time on the court. Jokic averages 36.7 minutes per game, placing him in the 99th percentile. This remarkable number highlights his durability and importance to the Denver Nuggets. Jokic is the heartbeat of the team, with their entire offensive and defensive schemes revolving around his presence. Comparatively, Luka Doncic plays 35.6 minutes per game, which places him in the 97th percentile. Meanwhile, Jason Tatum averages 35.9 minutes, landing him in the 98th percentile. Both Doncic and Tatum are heavily relied upon by their teams, but Jokic's ability to sustain his elite play across such extended minutes makes him invaluable. SGA clocks in at 33 minutes per game, still very strong at the 92nd percentile, and Joel Embiid plays 32.2 minutes per game in the 89th percentile. Embiid's minutes are slightly lower due to load management and his injury history. Giannis averages 34.8 minutes per game, landing in the 96th percentile. While Giannis also plays substantial minutes, Jokic's ability to stay on the floor for nearly 37 minutes a night is an unmatched testament to his conditioning and basketball IQ. Moving on to usage rate, which measures how much of the offense flows directly through a player, Jokic's figure is 30.8%, putting him in the 98th percentile. This demonstrates his centrality to the Nuggets system. Every possession seems to go through Jokic, and he makes it all work seamlessly. For comparison, Joel Embiid leads this group with a usage rate of 34.5%, ranking in the 100th percentile. Embiid's dominance is undeniable, as the Philadelphia 76ers rely heavily on his scoring and playmaking. SGA has a usage rate of 32.2%, putting him in the 99th percentile, while Luka Doncic is close behind at 31.8%, also in the 99th percentile. Both players are the primary engines of their team, with everything running through them. Giannis's usage rate is slightly higher than Jokic's, at 33.4%, again in the 99th percentile. Jason Tatum rounds out this group with a usage rate of 29.2%, still very high at the 96th percentile. While Tatum's usage is slightly lower, his ability to contribute as both a scorer and defender makes him a crucial piece for the Boston Celtics. However, higher usage often comes with diminishing returns and efficiency, and this is where Jokic truly separates himself. His offensive plus-minus, a measure of his impact on team scoring when he's on the court, is a staggering plus 8.1. This figure ranks in the 100th percentile, making him the most impactful offensive player in the league. To put this into perspective, Luka Doncic has an offensive plus-minus of plus 5.2, also in the 99th percentile, while Giannis has a plus 5.0 offensive plus-minus, again in the 99th percentile. Both are elite numbers, but Jokic's value is in another stratosphere. SGA's offensive plus-minus is plus 5.8, an incredible mark that also ranks in the 99th percentile, while Jason Tatum is at plus 4.4, ranking in the 98th percentile. Joel Embiid, despite his higher usage rate, posts an offensive plus-minus of plus 3.8, which lands him in the 97th percentile. Jokic's offensive dominance lies in his ability to make everyone around him better. Whether it's his pinpoint passing, efficient scoring, or decision-making, Jokic is the ultimate offensive catalyst. On the defensive end, Jokic has long been underrated, but his numbers tell a more balanced story. His defensive plus-minus is plus 1.5, ranking in the 93rd percentile. While he doesn't have the athleticism of some other stars, Jokic's intelligence and positioning allow him to make a meaningful impact on defense. Joel Embiid leads this group with a defensive plus-minus of plus 2.7, ranking in the 99th percentile. Embiid's presence as a rim protector and shot blocker is unmatched, making him the anchor of the 76ers defense. Giannis, widely regarded as one of the best defenders in the league, has a defensive plus-minus of plus 0.8, which lands in the 85th percentile. While still solid, this number reflects some inconsistencies compared to his previous seasons. Luka Doncic posts a defensive plus-minus of plus 1.4 in the 92nd percentile, and SGA matches Jokic with plus 1.5 in the 94th percentile. Jason Tatum, known for his two-way ability, has a defensive plus-minus of plus 1.3, ranking in the 91st percentile. Among this group, Jokic holds his own defensively, especially when paired with his extraordinary offensive contributions. When combining offense and defense into one holistic metric, estimated plus-minus provides the most comprehensive picture of a player's overall impact. Jokic's EPM is an astronomical plus 9.6, placing him in the 100th percentile. This is the single most dominant number among all players and reflects his unmatched ability to influence every facet of the game. SGA comes closest with an EPM of plus 7.3, also in the 99th percentile. Luka Doncic follows with an EPM of plus 6.7, another incredible number that ranks in the 99th percentile. Giannis has an EPM of plus 5.7, also in the 99th percentile, while Jason Tatum matches that figure at plus 5.7. Joel Embiid rounds out the group with an EPM of plus 6.5, still elite at the 99th percentile. While all these players are impactful, Jokic's overall dominance is unparalleled. His ability to elevate his team on both ends of the floor makes him the ultimate difference maker. Scoring is, of course, one of the most important aspects of the game, and Jokic doesn't disappoint in this area either. He averages 41 points per 100 possessions, putting him in the 99th percentile. For comparison, Joel Embiid leads this group with 42.1 points per 100 possessions, also in the 99th percentile. Giannis, known for his relentless scoring ability, averages 44 points per 100 possessions, ranking in the 100th percentile. SGA is right there as well, with 41.4 points per 100 possessions, again in the 99th percentile. Luka Doncic contributes 37 points per 100 possessions, placing him in the 98th percentile. Jason Tatum averages 36.5 points per 100 possessions, also in the 98th percentile. While Embiid and Giannis lead in raw scoring output, Jokic's efficiency sets him apart. True shooting percentage, which accounts for field goals, three-pointers, and free throws, highlights just how efficient these players are. Jokic's true shooting percentage is an impressive 64.2%, ranking in the 96th percentile. Giannis narrowly edges him out with a true shooting percentage of 64.4%, also in the 96th percentile. SGA posts a true shooting percentage of 62.1% in the 91st percentile, while Joel Embiid matches that figure with 62.1%, also in the 91st percentile. Luka Doncic, despite his scoring prowess, has a true shooting percentage of 59%, landing in the 77th percentile. Jason Tatum rounds out the group with a true shooting percentage of 60.6%, in the 87th percentile. Jokic's efficiency is a testament to his shot selection and ability to convert even the toughest looks. While all these players are exceptional in their own ways, Nikola Jokic stands out as the most complete and impactful player in the league today. His ability to dominate in every statistical category, minutes played, usage rate, offensive and defensive plus minus, estimated plus minus, scoring, and efficiency, is simply unmatched. Whether you value raw production, efficiency, or overall impact, Jokic delivers in every area. Players like Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic, SGA, and Jason Tatum are undoubtedly among the best in the world. But Jokic's unique combination of skills and his ability to make everyone around him better make him truly special. As the season progresses, Jokic's numbers will likely continue to solidify his case as the best player in the NBA, and his season totals pretty much dominate everyone else's too. First off, 613 total points. Not only is that impressive on its own, but his ranking, he's in the 99th percentile for points across the league. That's elite company, and it's just the beginning. When you're scoring at that level, you're setting the tone for your team every single game. He's not just a scorer though, he's so much more. Next up, rebounds. 258 total rebounds. Again, the 99th percentile. That means almost no one is controlling the glass like Jokic. Whether it's grabbing boards on defense or extending possessions on offense, he's been a monster in this department. And remember, rebounding is not just about size. It's about timing, positioning, and effort. And he excels in all three. Now, the assists. 193 assists. Are you kidding me? 99th percentile here too. Jokic is like a point guard in a center's body, orchestrating the offense with pinpoint passes and jaw-dropping court vision. He's the engine that makes everything run smoothly for the Nuggets. Every dime he drops feels like a highlight. Blocks are up next. 14 total blocks. And he's sitting in the 83rd percentile. While blocking shots isn't his main calling card, it's clear he's no slouch on the defensive end. He knows how to position himself to protect the rim when it matters most. And steals, 34 steals, ranking in the 97th percentile. His hands are as quick as his mind. It's one thing to rack up steals as a guard, but for a big man to be in the 97th percentile, that's just ridiculous. He's reading passing lanes and making plays all over the court. Let's talk about shooting efficiency, because Jokic is redefining what it means to be a scoring big. His true shooting percentage is 64.9%, which puts him in the 85th percentile. That means he's scoring at an elite rate while being incredibly efficient. Whether it's hitting mid-range jumpers, finishing at the rim, or knocking down free throws, he's doing it all with precision. Speaking of shooting, his three-point percentage is 50%, 94th percentile. Big men aren't supposed to shoot like this, but Jokic makes it look easy. When you've got a 7-footer splashing threes at that clip, you're stretching defenses to their breaking point. Now, his three-point attempts are at 84, which puts him in the 74th percentile. It's not the volume that's overwhelming, it's the accuracy. He picks his spots and makes them count, which makes him an absolute nightmare to guard. Free throws, 105 made free throws, placing him in the 97th percentile. That's just so reliable. When he gets to the line, he's converting, plain and simple. It's an underrated aspect of his game that makes him even harder to stop. Finally, the plus minus, 173. Let me say that again, 173. That's in the 99th percentile. This stat tells you how much his team benefits when he's on the floor. It's not just about the points, rebounds, or assists. It's the impact he has on winning. When Jokic is out there, the Nuggets are simply a better team in every way. Every single one of these stats screams dominance, versatility, and efficiency. Jokic isn't just playing basketball, he's redefining what a superstar big man looks like in the modern NBA. His season so far has been nothing short of extraordinary, and the numbers back it up at every turn. And we all know Jokic is going for his 4th MVP. Nikola Jokic is doing things this season that leave no doubt why he should be the MVP. The Denver Nuggets revolve entirely around him. When he's on the floor, their offense is unstoppable, ranking number 1 in the league. But when he's not, it's a disaster. They drop all the way to dead last in offensive efficiency. That kind of contrast doesn't just happen by chance. Jokic is Denver's heartbeat, and his numbers prove it. He's top 5 in scoring, rebounds, and assists. And he's even leading his team in steals. Like I mentioned before, when Jokic had a career-high 56 points, 16 rebounds, and 8 assists against Washington, it showcased his ability to take over games in ways very few can. In the very next game, 48 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 assists in a blowout win against Atlanta. Those are video game numbers. Jokic isn't just about flashy stats, though. He's made strides defensively, and that's helped the Nuggets stay competitive at the top of the Western Conference. Now, Giannis Antetokounmpo is another player in the MVP conversation, and for good reason. Giannis is putting up absurd stats too, leading the league in scoring with 32.5 points per game and ranking 5th in rebounds and field goal percentage. He's also had 13 games with at least 30 points and 10 rebounds, 4 more than Jokic. The Bucks were in trouble early on at 2-8, but Giannis dragged them back to 12-11. That kind of impact can't be ignored. But here's the kicker. While Giannis is dominant, the Bucks don't fall off a cliff without him the way the Nuggets do without Jokic. That's a huge edge for Jokic. What about Jason Tatum? The Celtics are loaded with talent, but Tatum stands out as their leader. He's evolved into a two-way superstar, ranking 6th in scoring and even contributing as a playmaker. He leads the defending champs in scoring, rebounds, assists, and steals. Impressive? Absolutely. But the Celtics have depth, and they've shown they can survive without Tatum on the floor. That's not the case with Denver. When Jokic isn't playing, it's like the Nuggets forget how to play basketball. SGA is another name that's popped up in MVP talks. He's putting up consistent numbers, 25 to 30 points on 50% shooting every night, and he's leading the Thunder to the top of the Western Conference standings. SGA is undoubtedly one of the best two-way guards in the league, but let's be real. The Thunder have a deep, balanced roster. Jokic doesn't have that luxury. He's not just the centerpiece of Denver's offense, he is their offense. Luka Doncic is another MVP contender who deserves recognition. He's almost averaging a triple-double since returning from injury, with numbers like 31 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 9.5 assists per game. Luka's Mavericks are on a 7-game win streak, and his ability to control games is undeniable. But here's the thing, Dallas doesn't depend on Luka the way Denver depends on Jokic. The Mavs can stay competitive, even when Luka isn't at his best, whereas the Nuggets crumble without Jokic. And let's talk about Karl Anthony Towns for a second. He's been a difference maker for the Knicks this season, averaging a career-high 13.2 rebounds and leading all East centers in scoring. His 45% three-point shooting is incredible for a big man. But Towns, like Tatum and SGA, has the benefit of playing on a team with other strong contributors. Jokic, on the other hand, carries the Nuggets on his back every single game. Jokic's case for MVP isn't just about his stats. though their jaw drop, it's about his impact. He's the engine driving Denver's success, the reason they're a playoff contender. His ability to elevate his teammates, dominate the game in every aspect, and make the Nuggets look unstoppable when he's on the floor sets him apart from everyone else in the race. Sure, Giannis is putting up monster numbers, and Tatum is leading the Celtics as a two-way star. SGA is balling out. Luka is flirting with triple-doubles, and Towns is doing his thing. But when you look at how much Jokic means to the Nuggets, how they literally go from best to worst depending on whether he's playing, it's clear who the MVP is. Jokic doesn't just deserve to be in the conversation, he deserves to win it. Nikola Jokic winning a fourth MVP would be absolutely insane for NBA history. Only 4 players in the league's history have ever pulled that off. LeBron James, Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, and Kareem. Think about it. Every single one of those names is basically a basketball god. Adding Jokic to that group, it would put him in a conversation that very few players can ever dream of joining. Let's start with what this means in context. Kareem has the most MVPs ever with 6, a record that feels untouchable. Then, you've got Russell and Jordan tied at 5 each, both legends in their own right. For Jokic, though, a 4th MVP would mean tying with Wilt and LeBron, arguably 2 of the most dominant forces to ever play the game. Just saying that out loud gets me hyped. And let's not overlook the gap between Jokic and other recent MVPs. Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Moses Malone each have 3 MVPs. Incredible players, but Jokic winning a 4th would move him to a completely different tier. He wouldn't just be one of the best of this era, he'd solidify himself as an all-time great. Historically, most of the players with 3 MVPs belong to the league's golden eras, like the 80s or early 2000s. If Jokic wins this year, he'd break the mold and redefine what greatness looks like for the modern NBA. It's not just about scoring anymore. He's proving that you can dominate with passing, basketball IQ, and complete control of the game. Now, let's talk longevity. For a center, winning multiple MVPs is already rare. There are only a few, like Kareem and Wilt, who've reached that level. If Jokic grabs a 4th, it puts him right there with them. Not just in MVP count, but in terms of redefining the position. Centers aren't supposed to lead their teams in assists, and yet here he is, doing it year after year. And look at who he'd leap over in MVP count. Giannis, Karl Malone, Steve Nash, Steph Curry, Tim Duncan. Those guys are icons, but they maxed out at 2 MVPs each. For Jokic to double that and move past names like Bird and Magic, that's a legacy move, no question about it. A 4th MVP also speaks to consistency. Winning back-to-back MVPs is already a challenge, but 4 over a short span, that's dynasty-level dominance, even if the team itself doesn't have multiple titles yet. It's the kind of achievement that forces everyone to reevaluate where Jokic stands in the all-time rankings. Honestly, it'd be hard to argue against him being the best international player ever if he wins 4. Sure, Giannis and Dirk Nowitzki have incredible resumes, but Jokic's MVP total would crush theirs. It wouldn't just be about Denver or this era. It'd be about changing the game forever. That's what makes this season so exciting. A 4th MVP wouldn't just be another trophy for Jokic. It'd be a moment where NBA history shifts. If you guys like deep dives like this, I'll be posting every day during the season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.